everyone. Welcome to another episode of Questing Onward. I'm Whitney.
I'm Ashton.
Welcome to our cute little channel. We've got all things communication, nerdy life, and just experiences that we'd like to share from our own life. So feel free to check us out over on YouTube and Instagram. We love to hear from you guys. Opening up today, I am going to be interviewing Ashton a little bit.
Ooh.
Yes, all fancy. So I wanted to talk a little bit about if I'm a supportive wife or yes, I guess that's like you kind of have to answer yes. That's a poorly worded question. So maybe if I could word it a little bit differently,
Sure.
How are some ways that I show support?
Okay.
That you feel supported by me?
Ooh, there's a million different ways. I think
If you could break down like a couple of the big ones.
you're going to make me cry probably on this. So that's
I did give you a heads up on that a little bit earlier.
Did you? I don't remember this. This is no, we did. We did talk about this. I remember now. Yeah, how are you a supportive wife? I think number one is being willing to make the same level of sacrifices that I am. And I think that that's something that when I look around at some of my peers and stuff, I feel like oftentimes they feel like their wife or their spouse is holding them back. And what I mean by that, I guess that sounds harsh. Maybe it is harsh, but I feel like they just feel like they always have to tiptoe around doing hard things or the things they need to do or the challenging things.
Maybe asking too much.
Yeah. They just don't want to ask. And I think that that's something that I've never felt that way for you. If anything, I felt the opposite. When I decided to leave my previous job and I had this feeling that I just wasn't hitting my potential, I was so scared not to talk to you because I thought that you wouldn't be supportive or anything. It's just more I was scared of the challenge or the struggle or the starting over feeling. And I thought that I'd get a little bit of pushback from you with yeah, but I mean, we're making good money. You sure you want to do that? It was just yes. I was well, actually, hold on a second. A little bit of a pushback here. And it was just none. You're just oh yeah, let's do it. If that's what you feel you need, I want to support you. And so for me, that was something that was and you've always been that way. And I think that's the best way that I felt is I've never felt there's ever been a moment where when I've had to do something, or I felt I should do something, or God's asking me to do something. If I can go to every time I've ever gone to you and vocalized my thoughts, you're always there and always so supportive of it. And if anything, you try to push me to do more. And so that's the best way to be a supportive.
So I know you said that I've always been that supportive, but I think at the beginning of our marriage, if you had come to me and said,
True.
I want you to leave I want to leave my job.
True.
I want to start over. I want to go. We're not going to have health insurance. I don't know how much money I could be making. It could be good, could be bad. I think I would have said no.
Yeah.
So what are some things that you think that built us up to that point?
I think a lot of it has to do with just trust in general. Because you bring that up, and that's a really good point. Because I do remember, and I'm sure you remember this as well, when we were dating and we were talking about career paths, Whitney's I would never marry a doctor, a
lawyer.
Those
were the two.
Yeah. And it's just those were not allowed, right? And a lot of it had to do with the work hours. It had to do with being gone. That was or military. That was the other one. It was you had a hard time with because of and it was all about the leaving and being gone. And last 2 years, I've pretty much been gone, for a vast majority of the time. So that's a really good point. So I guess to answer your question though, what has transpired, I think it's just the trust in one another more than anything. I think the more we've gotten to know each other, we know that everything we do is for the greater good of our family. And so with that being said, understanding that, I think that you just have a lot more confidence and know that that is my goal, that is my dream, is to provide for you guys at the highest level possible that I can do. And ultimately to be the best version of myself. And we don't get to that point without struggles. It's just not possible. And so I think a big part, if I was to say the biggest part though, is when we set goals and our plans, we have big goals and plans that we've set together. And so I think that oftentimes men and women are or husbands and wives, I guess, are on different brainwaves of what they want. It's their ideal, perfect dream scenario looks very different for the individuals, and I think there's a lot of conflict and frustration there. And for us, we don't have that. We have the same goals, we have the same aspirations, we want the same things, and so we understand that it takes sacrifices to get what we want. So I think that's probably the biggest thing we've done.
Mm-hmm. I think on a macro, micro level of that as well, I think just going back to the beginning, as we were talking about, building that trust, I think a couple of the reasons I didn't want people that were doctors, lawyers, I didn't want to marry something like that, was because I was worried about involvement in family. The priority for me was I wanted a father that was going to be involved in our kids' lives, and I wanted a present husband, someone that was going to be present. And I think as we began our journey, I needed you to be more present. I needed you to have a 9-to-5 job. And for me, you proved that you would be there in those little tiny moments. And so when it came time to make a bigger jump to things, I was ready to make that jump because I knew that you were an involved dad and you were a present husband and that you were still attentive to our needs, even though physically you may not be present.
Sure.
And that level of confidence, that was what I needed. And you proved that to me. And you earned that respect. You earned that trust. And that took years to build. But I think it's something that is vital in relationships. And so when those hard moments do pop up, that you've already built that foundation, you've built that trust, you've built that confidence, and you know that they're going to be supportive. You know that they're going to be there for your children. They're going to be there for you, no matter what that looks like, physically present or not. And so now, again, you're not physically present, but I still feel support from you, and I'm willing to give that support back because I feel that safe support. And I think that's a lot of things, that there's that disconnect and maybe that lack of communication as well.
Yeah.
And I think that could be a big struggling point for a lot of people, which luckily I think we've also discussed goals enough that we do want the same things and we see that it is beneficial for a family. So I wanted to ask you if you could give one piece of advice to men to show more support to their wives and women to show more support to their husbands. What would that one piece of advice look like?
I think for men, the piece of advice that I would try to give to show them the maximum amount of support is the true level of leadership, of stewardship as a man, is the ability to, in my opinion, to work together as effective as possible. I don't think the best way to show support is just to when people hear the word lead, they think of direct, manage, tell people where to go. I think oftentimes a good indicator is military aspect, and that's not how you lead, in my opinion, your wife. That's not how you gain the trust and confidence. To me, it has a lot to do with serving. I think that's the best word I could put in there, is everything you do from the lens of service. How do I serve my wife? How do I serve my kids? How do I serve better in my capacity as a father? How do I be the best servant here? And sometimes that does mean to be direct, especially with your kids, but that is all done through the lens of service and love. And then the other question, what was it again?
If you could give advice to women on how they could best support their husband, what would that look like?
I think a lot of it has to do with just show trust. Now, I think this could go down a whole other hard difficulties, what if trust is broken? And that's a whole other conversation, right? But I think ultimately show trust, and when they do a good job, reinforce that behavior with I really appreciate this. I really appreciate the effort you put in here. I really appreciate the little things how you helped with the kids, helped me with the bath time. I think just reinforce those types of behaviors, because again, we as men, we love, I think oftentimes most men love being acknowledged for things they do well. I think it comes from the workplace. And so I think the more often that we know that we're doing the right things, we talked about a couple weeks ago, it's I'm always happy to help out, but sometimes I don't know what to do. So just tell me what to do, right? And I'll do it. And I think that ultimately that's how men kind of approach a lot of the little things, is we don't want to get in the way. It's not we don't want to help. It's just that we don't want to get in the way and cause more frustration. So when we're doing things, just tell us thank you. Tell us you appreciate us. And I think that goes a very long way, in my opinion, to feel that trust and confidence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think it shows that you're valued.
Yeah.
And I think it goes both ways. I definitely appreciate, even when I'm quote unquote doing my job.
Right.
I do enjoy also receiving those specific compliments as well.
Yeah.
So I think we'll go ahead and end it there, but cool. I just want to thank you all for listening, and thank you to Ashton for giving us those wise words. And we will talk to you next week.
Okay, thanks.